call the Board of Directors meeting together, or to order, September 11th, 2024. Let's go ahead and start with Pledge of Allegiance on this day. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thanks all of you for coming today. We got a action-packed agenda here. Denise, will you do a roll call?
Director Lohmeyer? Here. Director Johnston? Director Walper?
Here.
Director Martinez? Director Berman?
Here.
Vice Chair Rydell?
Here.
And Chair Wheeler?
Here.
We have a quorum.
And I just got a text from Director Johnson. He'll be here in 5 minutes. First item of business here is the adoption of the agenda. Denise, was the agenda properly notified?
Yes, it was.
I need a motion, don't I?
Yeah, Chair Wheeler, I move to approve the agenda.
Second.
We got it. Motion and second. Any discussion on this needed? Okay, all those in favor of moving forward with the agenda as presented, raise your right hand.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Let's start off Board of Directors reports. Director Walper?
Yeah, two things. I really enjoyed greeting the kids at school. I did elementary school at River Mill and the junior high. And the junior high was okay, but they didn't care that you were there. But the elementary was awesome. I mean, they were just, all lit up like Christmas trees, you know? And it makes you feel good. And the other thing is, we were at MacGyver Park, Maggie and Danny and myself and some old codger, who was a really nice guy. But boy, he had a lot of good questions. It was awesome. So we enjoyed that. He wanted to know about the bond and things like that. It was probably about my age, an old codger.
Did he have a positive outlook on the Escada School
I
District?
think when he left, when he disappeared, but when he was a little aggressive to begin with. I think he wanted to know what the heck we were doing with the bond money, but I felt pretty comfortable when he left. He was pretty happy.
Good.
That's it.
Thank you. Director Berman?
Yeah, I've got one thing. I wanted to commend the district for how you guys handled the hot days, using data to make good decisions, using indexes to make good decisions, and things flared up, but I know you guys did everything you could to make it work in real time. I thought it went great.
Thank you.
We need air conditioning, but I thought it went really well.
Yeah.
Good information. Yeah, let's keep finding grant money for air conditioning, because we need it. I've had I went to one board meeting in here when it was hot, and I don't understand how anyone could learn in that type of environment.
Yep.
I think it was last summer, but
Yeah.
anyway, nice work on that.
Thank you. Director Lohmeyer? Vice Chair Rydell?
A couple things. So yeah, fall sports is underway. I was at the boys soccer game last night, so it's always nice to hear that horn
Yes, it is.
blow 5 times.
Should be 3, but that's good.
5 scores.
Oh,
So,
five scores.
yeah,
Okay.
five scores. So we beat St. Helens pretty hardly, 5-2. So it was nice to see
Awesome.
crowd out there and catch a soccer game that I don't always get to do. So
Awesome.
and football's underway. So big win week 1 down in Tillamook. It's always nice to beat the Cheesemakers. So and then had a little bit of a rough show this last Friday. So
And Monday.
looking to put those behind us. At Echo, the students and the weather stuff. The last one for me, High School Musical. I know it's only September, but cast list is out. Doing a little shop of horrors. And we have the big plant, Seymour plant. I don't know how tall it is, but it's huge. So it's pretty cool. It'll be a good show. So that's all I got.
When is that?
January 23rd through the 25th.
Oh, lots of planning. Awesome.
Yeah.
And has Vice Chair Rydell been tasked with the thing he's supposed to build yet for this musical?
Not yet.
Okay.
Coming. That's all for me.
Thank you. My board of directors report. I had the pleasure of speaking to the entire staff. If I graded myself, it probably would have been a D minus, but it was a pleasure being out there in front of the, it seemed like there was 1,000, but it's probably closer to 300-ish, which has definitely grown since when I first got on the school board, being a chairman. So it's fun. It's good seeing familiar faces, new faces. Everybody was excited to be there and ready to get after the school year. I'm excited. My kids are in the middle school and the high school now, so it's two new experiences for two of my kids, and I've since not been receiving constant Clackamas River Elementary emails, which is a welcome change for some of the reasons. And just excited for the school year. I feel like everything that I've been around, whether it's a sporting event or at schools themselves, everybody's been positive and ready for the school year. And it's again, it's a welcome change from when I first got on the school board. Ken, you can probably speak to this too. It was a little chaotic the first few weeks, and it didn't feel like that at all.
Yeah.
So, like I said, welcome change. Director Johnson, do you have any board reports? All right,
I've got one more thing.
go ahead.
In the name of air conditioning, I got to go to my first volleyball game in a air-conditioned gym, and that was
Yes.
quite a difference.
Yes.
They won. It was comfortable in there. You know, I've never felt anything below 90 in there during volleyball season, so
It's true.
nice work on that project.
Thank you.
Okay,
All right.
let's keep working our way down the list. Next up, we have district reports. Communication department is up first. Maggie and Danny, come on down. Welcome.
All right, good evening and welcome to the first school board meeting of the school year. In communications, a couple things that we have on our plate right now. First, I want to commend Josh and our student interns that are doing a great job with the fall sporting events. It is always just a great production in Buzz Randall Stadium right now, and just really enjoying having that community engagement piece, and they do such a good job with it, whether it's football or soccer. They've put a lot of intentional work into ensuring that the community enjoys those events. Community communication, I echo what Chair Wheeler said in feeling, just a sense of feeling that this school year felt calm and controlled, and we felt prepared, and families felt informed as we started the year. There's of course always some hiccups, but this felt like a really positive, smooth start to the school year. So we were happy to aid that in terms of communication. And as we welcome new families, I did want to provide a data point. This is just brand new data, but as we work with our now 2 translator interpreters, they have noticed an increase in their caseload. So we did some data to see how many families and students they're supporting. And we have 177 Spanish-speaking families and students that are being supported by our translator and interpreters. And we have 22 newcomer students that, these newcomers are students that speak very little or no English. So these are primarily Spanish-speaking students. So that has been an increase of 10 students from last year. Last year we had 12, this year we have 22. So a substantial increase in that population as well. And they're working really cohesively with our schools to support those newcomers and make sure that they thrive in our schools and are given the resources they need to be successful. Additionally, we're working on just getting into the classrooms more this year and spotlighting some of the great work that's happening in our classrooms to just show our community what learning looks like in Estacada schools, and that we are giving our kids a solid foundation and that we hold high standards for our students and all the great things that are going on in the schools. So we're excited to do more of those spotlights. And then an additional piece of data, we've been really committing to having our work on the walls, whether that's student PDSAs or their goals or our mission, vision, and values. And we used to outsource that print product, which was very expensive. So we did that in-house this year with the help of our printer and our student interns, and we were able to save about $10,000 throughout that process. So anyway, we're able to find cost savings and get a product that gets to us quicker. That's one way that we like to support our schools. some completed projects that we've done, supporting in-service and ensuring that our teachers and staff have good back to school. Again, the back to school communication. We have a Facebook Live event that is actually coming up in 2 weeks, not this upcoming Monday, but the following Monday. We'll have a Facebook Live event with Superintendent Carpenter, and we're looking forward to just gathering community feedback on how back to school went, talking about, our inclement weather decisions, walking them through that, and then just beginning early calendar decisions. We know that we think a little bit outside of the box and have a very intentional calendar that maximizes student learning and attendance. And so we want to kind of remind families of the why behind that, but also start up the conversation as we look at potentially extending out a new calendar for the next 3 years and what that looks like. So excited to start that conversation. And then lastly, as I mentioned, weather communications. Folks got the weather communication. They were aware of the 2-hour early release and what was expected of them and their families. Whether or not they had a differing of opinions on it, they at least understood what was happening and the why behind it. And again, to echo what some others said, that there was data behind this and why we were making those decisions. And then lastly, Estacada was featured in the Oregonian and a couple of other news articles for closures, and these happen throughout many districts, so this is not just Estacada. And then we were featured in the Oregonian, also in a different article to talk about our facilities and the challenges we face in funding our facilities. So we're happy to continue telling our story and to talk about the challenges we are facing to provide a quality learning environment in these facilities and really continue that conversation. With that, I'll turn it over to Danny.
Okay, I'm excited to give some updates on some ongoing community outreach projects that we have. First off, we completed our Summer Park Series event for the second summer. We were successful in reaching new community members. We were able to connect with about 200 folks. A lot of people were similar to what Director Walper was saying, was coming in trying to get some more information. We were able to answer questions in more of an informal setting, and I do think that everybody left happier and more informed, which is what our goal was. We do plan on refreshing for next year. We want to increase attendance and really make it something enticing to all community members to come to, so we're already coming up with some good ideas and, collecting feedback from folks to see what would make them want to attend maybe more than one or just attend at all. We also chose to survey the people that did show up on how they received information about the event and how they just learned about it. That way we can utilize that information moving forward so that our communications to people that maybe don't have Parent Square or other district communications, those things are getting to them effectively and cost effectively and efficiently. So moving forward, upcoming school and athletic events. Spring has started, so we have a lot of the athletic events in back to school nights, parent breakfast. So we just really try to attend as many of those events as we can, have a district presence, answer questions, provide a helping hand. We always love to hand out some Estacada school swag, provide information on our food pantry, our new calendar, things like that. It's always a lot of fun, and we enjoy being around the students. We have teamed up with the high school athletic department, so we're going to do a district spotlight night at the home football game on October 25th, similar to how our sponsors get to have a night with all of their gear and their folks out there. That's going to be us, so we're really excited to try something new in a fun atmosphere where there's a lot of Estacada pride, have some activities during halftime, a lot of Estacada stuff, maybe spotlight some of our leadership, introduce folks, and we do have some shirts to shoot out of the t-shirt guns. If anybody would like to take on that job, let me know. We would love to have board members there to maybe meet and greet attendees as they show up, and just making sure that everybody knows who's making the decisions, get to meet everybody and shake some hands. So we were really looking forward to that, more information to come. And we are still working on our community report. I mentioned it briefly last meeting. We're collecting stories. This is just really a goal to get something in the mail, magazine type mailer to all of our stakeholders that show them all of the important information that we have going on in all the departments that we have, but then also a peek into our buildings. So similar to what Maggie was saying, we want to show them what is happening inside our buildings that they don't get to see, introduce them to our hardworking staff members, our really innovative programs that we have going on that they may not know about, highlight alumni that we have been reaching out to. So we're really looking forward to getting that going, and we should be getting that out soon.
Not a question, Maggie, but a comment about the weather and our response. I think for anybody out there listening, if you didn't see, there were a lot of schools that just closed completely. So I think, again, that idea of prioritizing student learning and getting them in the classrooms, and we could have just called a virtual day and rolled out a virtual day, but knowing that we prefer to have students in the building, but several districts, local districts, just closed for the day, and just didn't have school at all, which I think shows our commitment to getting the kids in class.
And having our index has been really key as well. We have that index of what temperature is acceptable and what temperature is dangerous, and then we're able to look at, okay, at what point in the day do we reach that point on the index? So that has been really helpful to have that policy that we're able to just communicate clear expectations. So I appreciate
Love it.
and agree with that feedback. Okay,
Any other questions or comments?
thank you.
I'm not done yet. How has the outreach been to showcase alumni?
It's been fun. So we've been doing a lot of outreach, and I've been connecting with staff members who are hooking me up with folks that maybe I have missed in the younger generation that I haven't met before. So reaching out to them and getting them to answer my questions and get the ball rolling has been interesting. A lot of people don't want their faces out. Like, you guys are comfortable being on YouTube and stuff. So it's a poll, but I think the football games have been a really great way, because when I ask them in person, they're a lot more willing to put themselves out there. So I think once we get the ball rolling, more folks will be interested in doing it. So I have about 4 people that have participated, and then we'll start rolling it out.
And is it more of like I started in Estacada and now I'm a rocket scientist for NASA type of or is it how Estacada, like what is the emphasis, I guess?
So I'm giving them some leeway on how they want to frame it. So it is more of an interview, so they can kind of go whichever direction they prefer. So they get to talk about what they're currently doing, how they got there, what year they graduated, and then, anything that really stood out by being in the Estacada schools, what helped them get to where they are, any really good advice for our current students, and there's like an ongoing list of different things, and so they get to kind of pick and choose what angle they want to go for. So I really want to make sure we're getting a broad array of folks that went into trades or are currently in school or have graduated and moved on. So we're just trying to get a big group of folks to give their opinion on what they think about Estacada schools, positive opinion.
I've got a question.
Yes.
My wife is on a page for Pasadena High School in Southern California. And she's always yakking with people and finding out, do we have something like that?
There is an Estacada alumni page on Facebook, and there's about 3,000 people on it. It's pretty big.
Oh, wow.
I'm pretty sure that's about how many are on there. I've scrolled through there trying to find folks too. So there's information on there. I'm sure the high school has similar pages for each graduating class. But we don't host our own page.
There are Facebook groups that pop up, EHS class of 1982, and they set up class reunions and those sorts of things. And we are on a few of those pages just to connect with people. We've put opportunities like alumni feature out there. Yeah.
Nice.
I know you guys don't struggle at finding things to do that are productive. But another angle that would be cool is,
Yes.
I'm coaching football with a guy that moved out here recently from Gresham, no ties to Estacada other than his wife's best friend lived here, moved here, and just couldn't stop bragging about it. And so they became next door neighbors, and now he's in the system for, I think they moved here in May.
Yeah.
And has no plans to go anywhere, just loves everything about it. So I think it's kind of neat alternatively to see these people that are moving here and why they're moving here. And it largely is because of the school district and the community, so.
I love that suggestion, and we've discussed in this community report having some article or something that's really talking about like why it is different here, and having people that are new, that have experienced other districts where a lot of us have graduated from here and this is what we know. We get a lot of feedback from folks that are new that just are shocked at the way that we do things and how efficient and proud they are to have their students here. So I would love to connect with you on that, and then we can get those stories spotlighted also.
That is something we should put into practice. I also think it accomplishes, I know there's a lot of fear and apprehension around growth in Estacada, but when you connect with these newcomers and realize that they came here because they also want to live Estacada's lifestyle and Estacada's values, it brings a familiar face to that growth that makes it a little less scary. So I think that's a great idea. Okay,
Thank you.
for the feedback.
Okay.
Sorry, one more question. Which game are you sponsoring or
October
highlighting
25th.
Estacada?
I will make sure it's on your calendars. I'm sure you will be there.
I will be
We'll
there.
coordinate with
Vice
Denise.
Chair Rydell, but yes,
Thanks.
yeah, no problem.
Excellent. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Next up, we have buildings and facilities report.
Right, good evening, Board of Directors. For your operations report, always like to start with our capital improvement projects. First, want to highlight our high school varsity baseball field project. We're nearly done with the excavation phase. That is planned to be wrapped up this Friday. The turf is expected to be delivered this Sunday, and the install will begin following, that's this coming up Monday. We anticipate it taking about 3 to 3.5 weeks for the turf to be installed. And so we're very excited that this phase of the project is moving quite well. The next phase would be moving on to our softball field, beginning the excavation, site prep, drainage, et cetera, with the anticipation of the turf to be installed over at the softball field early October to early October rather. Okay. It's important to note that we did relocate our bullpen just slightly north, if you will, northeast of the baseball field for just usability. So it doesn't show that on this picture here, but just wanted to call that out. I'd also like to thank PGE. They came out on Friday last week to help move our backstop poles on their time. As you know, we moved the field up 15 feet for visibility for our spectators. And again, we reached out to PGE. They came on their own time and were able to do that very quickly on a Friday. So again, wanted to thank PGE for that service. As I mentioned, varsity softball field will begin early next week on the site prep and then eventually the turf installation. One of the projects, part of the projects that we haven't highlighted too much is a hitting facility to support our softball program. That's in the works as well in terms of going through the procurement phase and then what the install will look like. We're excited for that opportunity to give those student athletes a space to practice and utilize that resource as well. Moving on to the seismic rehab project, we got through 60% of the schematic design. We have our first look at pricing. Right now, pricing is a little high over what our grant is afforded, so we have a $2.98 million grant and expect to be about 1.9 in construction costs, I believe, if I recall correctly. And right now, we're shooting about $200,000 over that mark. So early in the phase, which is typical when we see those pricing, our engineers are confident we can get that price down as we go through the more complex part of the design. They are doing some more exploratory work this Friday as we keep uncovering or discovering some potential things from as-builts. And so we're looking forward to seeing what they find from there. Our next milestone will be in about a month, but we're now starting to ramp up our meetings to be every 2 weeks as we gear up for more design and then eventually procurement for construction services and then construction early summer next year. Deep Creek Learning Academy, this is our new site on 325 Broadway Street. We wrapped this project up on the construction just a few days prior to the school year starting. The pictures that you could see here, we're very impressed and we're very happy in how it all turned out. We have 2 classrooms that are available for those students and then a nice kind of open space for our students to utilize alternative learning practices and to really engage with their teachers in a slightly different way. And so we've been working through some kinks on the start of a school year with a new site. Overall, though, our teachers, our students are very happy, and we know that it's been a successful start so far.
Can we get a tour of that?
Absolutely, yes.
Awesome.
Going into some department reports, I wanted to just highlight some of our custodial grounds work that we've done. You can see the increase of work orders over the course of the last few months. It's important to note that we've transitioned to a new work order tracking system, so it only starts in July, and you see that where that test data is. But our work order progress is very successful, given that we have a short summer, and then we go into kind of the major cram of early fall with employees coming back. You can see our request completed on time. The left bar shows in July and the right is in August. The darker blue is 71% of our work orders were completed on time. We have a time frame of 7 days or less is considered on time, and so 29%. So opportunities for improvement here, as we're seeing some more accurate data, I would say, as we get this new system up and running and our users going through the process. Technology, always an area of focus. We completed 1,046 tickets from July to the beginning of the school year. That's actually down about 400 or 500 tickets, which is a good thing because it means our devices are better quality. We're doing more preventative maintenance on those devices, and so less tickets are created. Our response and resolutions at 98 to 99%, which is very impressive of a team of 4.5. I say half because one of our leaders does some tickets for about 2,400 people, that's including our students. Director Johnson asked last month about decommissioned devices. Our number is 667, so that's the number we decommissioned going into this school year. This is a fun one. Our Nutrition Services Department has really been ramping up how we collect free and reduced applications, as this impacts a lot of our grants, and just the ability to do have some more opportunities for the school district. 2022-23, we had 35% of our students qualified for free and reduced. And September of 23, 46.9%. And then in this year, we're at 52.48, which is 844 applications processed. Getting us over that 50% mark is pretty vital when we talk about our title grants, our E-rate grants, and as I mentioned, it gives us some opportunities to explore new food service options in the coming years. So seeing that increase is a benefit to the district. So kudos to our nutrition services team to be able to get that information out to our families, get them to complete the applications and processed. Moving along in our transportation department, this is an interesting conversation that we're looking into and diving into the data. The blue bars represent our capacity on our buses on each AM or first route, second route. So our first route is our elementary, middle school. Our second route is our secondary school. The red line indicates where our bus capacity lands. So if you look in the middle, kind of, you see a couple tall bars. If every student on that bus, on those buses, were to ride that bus, we would be over capacity. Now, that's not likely to happen. We haven't seen that happen, actually. But what do we do? How do we plan for that? We do have some contingencies or backup buses ready to go, other drivers ready to roll and pick up students if we need to. But this is an area where we're diving into the data, realizing that our second routes, we're not transporting as many students. So how can we reallocate drivers to help address this capacity issue on that first route, whether it's the morning and afternoon? Still early because we're receiving a lot of new students every day, and so we have to let that settle first before we can really start making some adjustments. But great data for us to start evaluating and analyzing some changes.
Director Ware, when you say second route, is that the high school? Is that or is it a bus bringing a group of kids in for middle school and then going back out and grabbing another group?
We do have some of that, but what I'm referring to is the high school students for the second route. Going into facility use, again, just to kind of echo the demand and the need that we have within our district. This is a recap of total usage from just the community side from July 1 to now. We've hosted 224 events. That does include our youth athletics, but other events that we've done. We've hosted traveling band groups. We're hosting other school districts to be able to use our facilities for football games and practices. And so we're just seeing a higher demand within the community as it grows, but outside the community, we have districts interested in utilizing our facility. It's a great problem to have, but it's also a very challenging logistic system to be able to fit all that in there, at the same time meet the needs of our district, sponsored events, and then also a local community. We'll continue to be able to highlight some of this as we gather more data. Along that same lines, Estacada Youth Baseball, we see 130 athletes, that's up 23% from last year. SDK youth football is at 162 athletes, and the youth soccer is at 369 athletes. So we're just seeing a continual boom of the young athletes in our community, so it's a good thing. And any questions for our operations side?
Two, isn't 40% title, federal title?
over 50% is what classifies us to be eligible for free-for-all lunch. And yeah, title is, you're right, 40% for
So
title.
free for all is over 50?
Yeah, over
Okay.
50.
And then, how are the FRL forms submitted? Are they electronic now?
They can be electronic. They
Yeah,
can
I
submit it by hard copy, but preferably electronic to the state, and then we receive that information and process it.
But and I should know this because I have 3 kids, but I haven't filled one out. So, but they can be submitted electronically to the district?
Yes, correct.
Thank you. That was it.
Director Ware, I appreciate that your group is going out and seeking other forms of facility use and income streams for available space. And I also appreciate being part of the youth football, that before you guys committed to anything, you came to the groups that are involved in the community to ensure that you're not impeding anything that should take precedent. And that's a biased opinion, slightly.
It is
But-
important to note that we are utilizing our fee schedule for these external uses, whether it's towards improvements or whatnot, but we are utilizing that schedule, so.
I'd say youth soccer had to grow, because when I drove past Clackamas River, that whole field, I mean, they're just packed everywhere with soccer.
Yeah,
It's
it's grown.
amazing, it's awesome.
And I also saw the band that was here on July
Yes,
4th,
you were there.
which is pretty amazing.
Yes.
That there was all of those people utilizing the school district, so great job.
Yep.
Do you have a enrollment form, or is that part of your?
It's coming up in
Okay,
finance, yep.
perfect.
All right, going into the finance report, your general fund report here, beginning fund balance is at 5.98 million. Total resources, 47 million, just over 47 million, with the total expenditures of 37.89 million, leaving an end fund balance of just about 9.3 million. Budget to actuals, instruction, we're at 26 million budgeted. Total year-to-date, 2.09 million, that's at 8% right now. Support services is at 16.4 million. Year-to-date is at 2.09, or basically 2.01 million, which is at 12%. Capital projects, total resources, again, 4.45 million. Total expenditures at this point is 3.95 million, with leaving an end fund balance of $500,000. For your enrollment report, as you can see, we've grown quite a bit. At the elementaries, we are down 1, however, from last month, or from last, which would be in May of last year, and down 14 from the previous year. At the middle school, we are up 42 from the last time we got this report, and up 29 from last year. High school, up 59, and then up 28 from last year. It gives us a total of 1,999 students. This is that next graph that we like to look at, one of the highest that we've seen in many years. And it's hard to see the dot because this is the first data point. That's why I circled it. But as we go into the school year, we'll see that trend moving right along.
We need one more student.
One more student, one more student.
They're coming tomorrow
Yes.
with 4 brothers and sisters.
Yes, I will, yes. And again, continuing with the desire to look at Summit Learning Charter Center, or Charter School rather, we're just showing our revenue from Summit in August, 177,000, and then September, we're anticipating 226,000.
So Mike, real quick, can you tell me the difference between the far left and the middle?
So the actual revenue that comes in from the state of Oregon that's the amount. Then we get monies taken out for PERS and other, I guess, credits, if you will. And that's what actually comes to the district. So we got 1.6 million. Actually, what comes to the district, which includes Summit's portion of the ADMW, or the state school fund, is 1.426 million. But then we send Summit their part of the portion minus the 20%.
Okay.
Does that help?
Yep, that does, thank you.
Any questions?
Question on the, capital projects financial form. The other restricted grants on, 3299.
Mm-hmm.
2.5 million. So is that, like the big project for the seismic?
That's the
upgrade?
seismic, yep.
How does that money hit? Is it like a stage draw where we reach a certain point and they give us money?
Yeah.
And so if construction is planned for next, probably the bulk of fiscal year, right? Maybe
This-
started a little bit?
But yes, it has started this year. Not construction, but behind the soft cost work, if you will. It'll be done, we have till December of 2026 to complete the project. The majority will be this fiscal year.
And so that, as that trickles in, that'll show up in that line item though, right? Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah, I got a question. It's been bugging me for, golly, a couple of months. I've been hearing, ever since I've been here, that we were getting $1 million from Summit. And I found out that we're really getting 2.7. Where's that 1.7 been going? What have we been using it for?
Well, it depends on when you heard that rumor, because 5 years ago, we were making $1 million. A couple years ago, it was that. After the pandemic, post-pandemic, they had an extreme amount of growth where people from all over the state left public education to join them. And that's really the first time ever that we surpassed 2 ever. And since then, it's gone down a little bit more, but it has always been in the kind of 1.6 to 2.3, 2.7. I don't remember 2.7, but is that what it ended last year? Was 2.7, which was the most we've ever had. But it's really been about $1 million historically. And post-pandemic is when it kind of skyrocketed.
Okay,
Yeah. Yep.
good. Thank you.
Yeah, great question.
With the special education component of that, we support them as a school district for that, right?
Correct. And we get the weighting for that also.
So does that come out of this number that's shown on here?
No, we fund that differently. So for every student that and what Chair Wheeler is asking is, for every student, the state pays roughly $10,000 per kid. If they are identified with some type of disability, then the state pays double that. So $20,000 per kid if they experience some form of special education services. So a student who is receiving an individual education plan, IEP, at Summit, they get to keep $8,000 for that particular student because we get 20% of that. And we get to keep the additional 10%. However, or the other additional $10,000, the second weight. But we put that $10,000 into our general fund expenditures because we are legally obligated to offer the special education services. And so we have, I think, 4 or 5 full-time employees who are employees of the Estacada School District that we pay through that funding to offer those legally required services. And so we count that differently than the profit, the 20%.
Do we pick up any special ed kids and deliver them to Summit?
We do have a couple who live inside our school district that we do transport in various methods, but none of them through our yellow bus system. However, a child that lives in Baker City or Medford or something like that, there's no feasible way for us to get them on campus. And so that's just not a part of the menu items that they get to pick from service.
Right.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions?
Great questions.
Yeah, thank you. Next up, we have, oh, no, I have something. Is there anything not discussed or shown in the financial report we need to be aware of?
No.
Thank you, Mike. Next up, we have superintendent's report.
Right, thank you, Executive Board of Directors, and I'd like to echo your sentiments that we are truly off to a great school year. I think this is my 8th year serving humbly as your superintendent. I believe it's 16th year inside the Estacada School District, and this is within the top 3. knock on wood, of our smoothest starts. Our team that we've collected, our pre-planning, the logistics that we've worked so hard over the last 5 or 6 years to improve, system by system, efficiency by efficiency. I truly believe that we are off to a great start. Not to say that we're perfect. We do have some opportunities for growth. Several people are quick to point out those opportunities for growth, but at the same time, I'm very pleased with the overall product as we've started the 24-25 school year. I would like to, in this board meeting, publicly recognize 2 specific employee groups that have been essential to our success this year. And the first is our bus drivers, our transportation team. It's one thing to start a school year and learn new routes, learn the names of kids who are on the routes and their families, and, by the way, try to drop off all of the kids whom we're getting to know and learning the routes at the time we said we would try to drop them off at, and to add 2 additional 2-hour early releases in our first week due to the heat definitely challenged the logistics of the work that we're trying to do to safely get kids home. And I thought that our transportation department knocked it out of the park. And it's an area that doesn't always get recognized, even though they're such a visible entity of our school district. And I just want to commend that group of people who have really helped us get off to a great start. Secondly, I'd like to recognize our night custodian team. Obviously, as we sent kids and our daytime employees home, that did not stop our nighttime custodial crew from coming in here and working in those very hot rooms to make sure that we were ready to teach again tomorrow. And, you know, it's always nice to be able to recognize people that our community doesn't often see, and that is our night crew. And it's also important to underline how essential that service is as we safely welcome not only our children back into our classrooms, but our employees as well. And during those 2 inclemently hot days, I thought that our night custodian team did so with focus, with poise, and with true commitment to their mission and vision of trying to educate our kids. And we're so thankful for our night custodian team. Aside from our employees through that heat wave, I also just want to, on behalf of the board and the employees of the Estacada School District, I'd like to send a certain and specific thank you to our community as well. Obviously, these are unprecedented times of schools who do not have climate-controlled classrooms to make decisions such as this. And I actually believe that the people who are closely connected to our school district were extremely supportive of our decision, and people who had kids, people who know what we're trying to do, and people who fully understand our mission, vision, and values. I just want to commend our community for giving us grace and patience and trusting the process and really supporting what was a difficult decision. Now, I also know as the superintendent that there were people extremely critical of that decision as well. And I hear loud and clear how in 1953 people were just tougher. And maybe statistically that's true based on social media. But today, Estacada's children are also statistically smarter. And so I can go data for data with the people who try to remind me how tough kids were back then. Where obviously this is a new world and this is a new educational climate and atmosphere, and I would say the data would back up that our kids are doing a great job and nobody is weak, and the skills that we're trying to teach our children, Estacada's children, are extremely valuable. And I just want to comment back on that any disparity is really a disparity on our children. And statistically, if you were to compare those who are making those disparities, we're statistically doing better than that. So I just wanted to be clear on that. And I'm sure that will be a fun comment on Facebook later. I also just want to point out that as we think about life post-bond, that Estacada has begun to lead what I would consider to be a movement that is gaining traction relatively quickly throughout the state of Oregon. As we know, we were unsuccessful in our bond campaign, and that has triggered really a state outcry from communities similar to ours that says our kids deserve great facilities too, even though we have a community not willing to invest into it. And so last Saturday, our school district was featured in a major Oregonian article. And also we were featured last Sunday in a big OPB article. And really the call was for the state to do a better job of funding school district facilities. And no different than we get paid for students who are being educated, how can we also receive annual monies from the state to continue to upgrade infrastructure that is crumbling on the very children we're being asked to educate? Today, it was an honor for Maggie Kelly, our Director of Communications, and Mike, who helped in the logistics. We welcomed some of the governor's team on campus today, where the governor's team got to take a tour of our school facilities to see what that looks like, along with other inner city governmental infrastructure. And I'm working directly with Representative Courtney Neron on working on some type of bill and legislation on how we can prioritize upgrading school facilities, specifically for communities like ours who have a community not willing to invest additional taxes into those infrastructures. And so I also wanted to communicate to our community that, like we promised, if we can't do it through the bond avenue, we're still going to do everything possible that we can through grants and through state advocation to make sure that Estacada's children get what they deserve and get the same experiences and opportunities like other communities who have communities that are willing to invest in their schools. And so I'm excited about that, and I'm optimistic, but it's early. But I just wanted to communicate to our community and to our board that our loss has actually triggered and prompted a statewide conversation about that, and I'm very proud of that. Lastly, I guess second to lastly, I just want to remind the board and our community that the Estacada School District is a nationally recognized school district for very many things. This coming early October, will be a keynote presenter in a national conference in Denver, Colorado, where school districts from around the United States are going to get to better learn from how the Estacada School District is achieving all of these results with the circumstances that we get to experience in terms of how we educate kids, how we develop leaders, and how we use data to make great decisions. When we return back from Denver from that keynote national convention, we're also the keynote for our own local organization and how we're delivering our inclusive practices for students being served by special education, and that will be down in Eugene. And so we speak to the country about the Estacada School District, and then we speak to the entire state about our special education services. So in the ups and downs and the thralls of an average school year, it's always important to remember that the things we're doing truly are industry leading, and people are taking note nationally of the great things happening in the Estacada School District. And then lastly, I would like to just share, as Mike Ware shared with you, we're seeing a bigger discrepancy in enrollment between Clackamas River Elementary School and River Mill Elementary School. And that is for no other reason than the boundary line of where Clackamas River is has a kind of an aging out demographic of families. And in addition to that, the growth that's occurring inside our school district is inside the River Mill Elementary School boundary. And so I think if we were to predict this model and fast forward it by 4 or 5 years, I think Clackamas River will continue to shrink while River Mill Elementary School continues to grow. And by the way, for our community listening, it's important to remember that River Mill is already over capacity, and we have 4 portable classrooms that are full of kids now. We have no more place in River Mill Elementary School for students. And so the trend is going to continue to unbalance itself. And so our intentions this year, in the next 12 months, is to really engage our parents and our community with how we want to reconcile that. Our proposal was to build a new elementary school to solve most of these growth problems. Obviously, that's not the plan moving forward, and so now the challenge is still on our plate as to how we're going to reconcile that. And so I just want to prepare our community and the board for what I imagine is going to be very lively conversations about, do we re-boundary the elementary schools to equal out? Do we merge the middle school with the high school like our intentions were to do in the bond, so we can create that third elementary school and just deal with that from that process? Or do we move from hypothetically make Clackamas River a kindergarten to second grade class, institution, and River Mill a third to fifth grade institution, and Estacada Middle School a sixth to eighth grade institution? All of those things are going to be talked about this year, and it is your superintendent's hopes that within the next 12 months, I will come to the board with a recommendation of how to look at the long term of how we're going to rectify a growth and enrollment discrepancy between our two facilities. With that said, I'm going to need a hard helmet for that too, by the way. So if the board can provide me with a flak jacket and a hard helmet, it'd be greatly appreciated. But that is your superintendent's report.
Thanks, Superintendent Carpenter. Any questions, comments? None? Okay.
Impressive.
It was a great report.
Thank you.
We could spend a lot of time talking about boundaries.
Yes,
And-
we will.
We have
Just
12
not
months.
Yeah.
It's not tonight.
Yep.
It's coming.
Okay. Thank you again. You're back on the floor, though. We have reports and presentations. English learners in Oregon.
While this gets set up, I want to recognize Jennifer Berman, who is our Director of Curriculum Assessment and Instruction. And what I'm about to share with you is really a product of her and her team's just phenomenal work. And for those of you who have been on the board for many years, we have a lot to celebrate with the presentation that I'm going to make to you this evening. That being said, it's also important to note that these are legal requirements, is why I'm doing this, and this is the board meeting where the school district is obligated to present these results to its board, and then we have to take the notes from this meeting and prove to the Department of Education that this conversation happened. And so I just want to intentionally talk about that while also celebrating and highlighting the great work coming from our curriculum department, but I also intend to do this in a very expeditious fashion. And so I wanted to share just those things as well.
The other thing too, I think, again, for the board, but anybody else listening, this is 2022, 2023
That's
data
correct.
as well. So
Yes.
that's just the
Yeah,
process
that's
of the
a very
reporting.
good point. So when we talk about this, let's pretend like this was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. So why are we doing this report? Because we have to. Okay, there are nearly 100,000 students inside the state of Oregon that we consider to be English language learners or who are learning English as their second language, 545,000 in Oregon. And I think that's important to note. Looking at Estacada's local data, Estacada, and from the year 2022-23, really 90% of our K-5 kids have graduated, attend regularly, and through that process, and you can see that it continues to maintain and stay great through the process. So, by the way, if anyone ever asks like what we do for our newcomer students and what is the graduation rate and the success rate of our students learning English for a second language, in Estacada, they are thriving. We do a very good job supporting these kids and acclimating them into our processes. And no other piece of evidence, I think, is beneficial than to say in the year 2022-2023, 100% of the students learning English as their second language graduated from high school on time. And so I'm very pleased of that, and our team is very proud of that as well. We also had in the year 2022-2023 4 students earned their seal of biliteracy. Now, what does that mean? And in that year, this was year 1 for us at that time. And what that ultimately means is these particular students take a test to demonstrate fluency in English and hit benchmarks, and fluency in Spanish and hit benchmarks. And so when we go to those graduation events that we love so dearly, all of the kids who are clinking and all of those medals, this is some evidence of that work. Last year, that we totaled 31 students with a biliteracy seal, meaning that they are certified bilingual graduating from Estacada High School, and that's phenomenal, and we're so very proud of that also. One of the areas that we do hope to improve, but at the same time are continuing to see growth, is people who are learning English who attend either college or a trade school is at 32%. Although, believe it or not, our students who came to our school district who never spoke a word of English in their life, that year 48% of them went on to do other things. So we still have some work to do in this area, but this again is evidence of growth and improvement. Any questions for our ELL processes? I can just quickly tell you anecdotally that in my time in the school district, there was a time when that was our lowest performing area. It was literally dead last. And we stole, at the time, when we needed to make some adjustments, our current high school principal now, her name is Leah Rydell. She had had successful work done in leading that in the North Clackamas School District. So like any great organization, we find talent and then we steal it. And we were so happy to have her come in and transform that process, and the rest is history. We're at 100% graduation rate now. Our improvement is just phenomenal, and we implemented, which I think is important for you guys to know, is a program called Language for All. And it's awesome to be someone who's been in the district for long enough that we started that just at kindergarten only. And then the next year it was first grade and kindergarten. And then the next year was second grade all the way through. And we're welcoming, I believe, our 7th grade class now is all through the Language for All process. And that means students who come into our school district, which 22 is what you just heard Mike Ware say, who have never spoken English in their life. We're training all of our students in the general education classroom setting to have great welcoming conversations, and we're developing language skills for all kids through many different processes. And so that's just a great example of where our school district, similar to the 1953 51% graduation rate. Here's another example of where we were dead last many years ago, and now we are kicking butt, literally and physically. And so that's great in that, and I'm very proud of that. And that's great work done also by Jennifer Berman, who has now taken over the lead of that, and we continue to just thrive and flourish.
Superintendent Carpenter?
Yep.
In that same report that Director Ware gave, 177 Spanish-speaking
Yep.
students.
Yep.
And so is it fair to assume that they're all in these programs?
Yep. But yes is the answer to that, or we're at some point. So if a kid came in as a first grader and was identified as someone who needed these services, but there's a way that they can test out and exit from the services, and then they're through the process. Yep.
Okay. And
But we track them the whole time.
Is there a benchmark of like entering in, not speaking Spanish at all, or speaking English at all? Is there a 3-year time frame, or is it
Depends.
5 years?
Yeah.
Is there a goal set, or how does that shape and work?
Yep, that's a great question. And obviously every kid comes to us in a different place. And we have some tremendous employees, particularly the most notable is Karen Green, who has made just a living of really trying to get these students across the threshold. But ultimately, no different than an individual education plan. We make plans for all students and families, and we do have benchmarks, and we track regularly, and there's some nationalized testing norms that we compare our kids with other kids to make sure that they're on track. And it does vary, but typically 3 to 5 years is typically when we're able to successfully exit. There are some families who choose to opt out at the beginning of the process too and say, no, thank you, we don't want these services. But by law, we're still required to track all students who fit that category to make sure that they're doing okay.
Excellent, thanks.
Yeah.
Is this the final compliance checkbox for what, that year? To close
Correct.
out that year?
Yep.
To present to the board?
Yep. Okay. Moving on to the next one, Division 22 standards. Again, this is a legal compliance measure where the board needs to be informed to inform all, including the community, that we are in compliance with all of the legal things that we need to be in compliance with when it comes to running a public school district. And so, again, what are the Division 22 standards? These are things that the state of Oregon has determined if you are going to be a public institution, receive federal funding, you need to comply with all of these things. And by the way, these are the things that during the pandemic, a great many people across the country were up in arms about and begging for school districts to violate. And this is the house where those requests were for us to violate. And obviously, when you don't do those things, you lose funding, you are susceptible to legal liabilities and so many other things that, at the end of the day, legally and financially punish today's current students when it comes to those opportunities. Again, why are we doing this? Because we are required to do so. Here are the things, basically at a snapshot of Division 22, and the things we have to promise that we are in compliance with, and that is curriculum and instruction. An example of that is we must teach Common Core state standards. That's not negotiable. That has to happen. Assessment and reporting, we have to, which means basically we have to do SBAC, and we have to do other state compliance things that are there. Program and service requirements, obviously we have to have Oregon State diploma requirements that are a part of that. Obviously our health and safety, our policies, board policies are enforced. We've got plans, athletic, Title IX stuff, and human resources, making sure that we're an equal opportunity employer, etc. Okay? So here's why we do these things, and I'll just let the community briefly take a look at that in our notes when they have the opportunity to do so, because I am most excited to share with you this slide, and that is to proclaim officially that we are in 100% compliance with Division 22. And this is a big thumbs up because for the last 5 or 6 years, there has always been one thing we've been not in compliance with, and that is having a licensed librarian. And so we now have fulfilled that compliance in a very creative way, but we can still check the box. And so the board can know soundly that we are in compliance with all state law requirement and policies, and our community can know that we are an accredited and in compliant school district that they're sending their children to each and every single day. And while I'm sure that's a statement that does garner or welcome some type of criticism, we are in compliance, but we still prioritize the community's mission, vision, and values. And we try to offer, to the best of our ability, the educational experiences while still remaining in compliance with law. Those are some new things that are coming through. And two things that are important is there is new law that we need to now have curriculum on social and emotional learning. And obviously we need to, I think it's starting, I can't remember what year it's starting, maybe it's next year for full implementation, but all of our students in high school, grades 9 through 12, have to take a personal financial education course in order to graduate. So that's a change in the state graduation requirements that we're required to implement. And I think we can all get behind the fact that our kids need to take a personal finance course in education, but that's a great example of that's not an option. We have to do that because the state said so. And so maybe there are people out there that don't want us to do that, and that's an example of something that we have no choice in doing locally. Okay?
When the state, which I don't disagree with that course in particular, but there's how many school districts within the state of Oregon?
Oh, I'm gonna give a rough number, 160.
Are there 160 experts that we're just gonna pop out of nowhere that are gonna teach my kids personal finance?
That's possible, yes. However, there are some state guidelines and regulations as to what that looks like and how a school district, through board policy, selects curriculum, requires us to have a committee of people and to look at different options. Then ultimately, and this is the nice part, locally, we get to make a decision. Just for fun, when I was your Estacada High School's social studies teacher, I was in charge of teaching all of the economics classes, and it was a requirement back then as well. And we chose to use Dave Ramsey's no debt curriculum, and so all of the Dave Ramsey baby steps and all of those things were things that I taught our kids and students during my time as the social studies teacher. So there is curriculum.
Is there funding that accompanies this?
Nope.
It's just an unfunded mandate.
There's
Correct.
still conversations too, because I've spent time in Salem on this, that there's, current argument now is, does it have to be a standalone class?
Right.
Or can it be included in another class, right?
Correct.
And that funding comes into play with that, right, of creating this, so those conversations are still being hashed out with Salem and
Yes.
ODE, and so more to come.
Yeah. For us locally, it will likely fall back into the social studies department because there's some room where there's less core requirements as opposed to science, math, and English. And so when the social studies curriculum adoption comes up, like it does every 6 years, likely that curriculum will be budgeted and prioritized at that time.
And don't let my questions negate I think that's a great idea.
Yep.
I just think that there's a lot more to it than just saying, hey, you have to do this.
For sure.
So for both of those, is that something, maybe this is what you were asking, are you buying them off the shelf for SEL and for personal finance? Or are you just using a standards mastery tool of some kind that they have to make sure that they're hitting those standards?
A little bit of both. So right now, we're in the process of trying to select fully our SEL curriculum, and we're trying to differentiate what we're teaching kindergarten through fifth grade through the secondary level. And I believe, and this is where Jen would come into play better than I believe we have selected and are about to implement our K through 5 social emotional, and I think we're still working on what to select at the secondary level.
Thanks, Ryan.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But if that's different, I'll make sure to inform you differently. And that is your 2 required obligated things. And again, like you can see even in this slideshow that's presented, our curriculum instruction team has just really done a phenomenal job. And they've really pulled us out of places I would consider the Estacada School District was red flagged. And they have made us just an absolute shining star through the process. And that's due to the great talent and leadership that we've placed into this department. And the great things coming out of it.
Great. Any other questions, comments? Okay, thank you. Moving along, we have discussion. It doesn't look like we have any items, though. Is that still
None.
correct? Next up, we have hearing of citizens for action items.
None.
None. Moving right into those action items. Consent agenda is a package of 1 or more items to be voted on as a unit. However, if any board member is not in favor of 1 or more items, those items may be taken with separate action with the request of the chair.
Chair Wheeler, I move to accept the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
We got a motion, we have a second. Any discussion?
Can I make 2 points? Or-
Yes, please.
One is, I didn't see any edits on the last policy that's in there. On the rest of them, you saw grayed out where there was some edits to the language. But the last one, I didn't see what the changes were in that document.
Great question.
So if that could be, I
Yep.
think it was just the dollar amount, but I'm not sure what the dollar
Yep,
amount was.
that's absolutely correct, and thank you for pointing that
Yeah.
out. And just for full transparency, I think I want to answer it too. publicly, because you're right, everything from policy number 1 through number 11 was recommended to us from the Oregon School Boards Association. So they supply kind of that grayed out
Okay.
area
Yeah.
and that kind of stuff, so people can see. The law changed for purchasing, which is letter A in this. The law changed for purchasing in the last legislative session, special session, and we had talked about it a couple of months ago of moving the threshold from 50,000 to 150,000. So the edits that we're approving now reflects the law, but we did it internally. It wasn't from the School Boards Association. And
Yeah, I
that's-
thought it was that
yep,
number, I just
yeah.
wanted to make sure that that was
No,
the case.
that's a
with that
great
too.
job. Yeah, that's good
And then the other thing,
sportsmanship.
and then my numbers could be wrong, but I just wanted to point out, like, the HR team, there was 53 people that were hired in the last 2 months.
Amen.
Just amazing, right?
Yes.
And 6 of them are administrative positions and 21 are academic positions. That's amazing how many people that came in.
Yes, and I'll convey
Yeah,
those
please.
kudos as well, because they did work overtime this summer to
Yeah.
fill some very hard-to-fill jobs and did a great job. And by the way, I don't know if you've noticed the change, but the board had asked to kind of change the reflection of how administrators certified and classified were itemized inside that report, and HR made that change based on board voice also, so.
That was it, thanks, Ben.
All right, thank you.
Yep, thank you.
So we have a motion, we have a second, we've discussed. Any questions? Okay, all those in favor, please raise your right hand.
Motion carries.
Next up, we have hearing of citizens for non-action items.
None.
None, which leaves us to adjournment. Do we have any special meetings between now and our next meeting?
None that I can think of.
Okay.
That was an opening for him to put something on the calendar.
Yeah,
No.
would you like?
What are you doing?
Would the board chair like a
I just want to
special
make sure it's
Get
on.
that thing.
meeting? Yeah.
All right, meeting adjourned then. 8:11.